And welcome back to the Cover 3 podcast here on CBS Sports Network. That's Bud Elliott. That's Danny Kanell. That's Tom Fornelli. I'm Chip Patterson coming to you live from Big Ten Media Days in Las Vegas, Nevada. Day 3 of the event as we are looking ahead to the 2025 college football season. Fired up for what we got on tap for you. We are scheduled to have a visit from UCLA head coach Deshaun Foster, from USC head coach Lincoln Riley. We'll hear from Luke Fickell, the Wisconsin head coach, Dan Lanning, the Oregon head coach. Oh yeah, UCLA quarterback Nico Iamaleava. I mean, maybe we'll get to talk at some point. We'll see. But as we sit here and look ahead at what we've got on tap, what really stands out? What are you excited about?
I think I'm just excited that the Big Ten is going to be more competitive this year. Like last year, I was really sure we'd get 4 teams in because I thought like the bottom half of this league was not going to pull many upsets. This year, I think we have more good games in store, boys. Like a lot of these teams in that kind of middle tier of the conference look to be materially improved, and I'm excited about it.
I think this season, it's not only the Big Ten. I mean, outside of the ACC, every conference, you can make a case for 3, 4, 5 teams to potentially win the conference. There's so many question marks, and I think that's been the theme here. There's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of potential of what teams could be. You talk about getting better, taking that next step forward. So that's what excites me is the wide open nature of this conference.
Yeah, there's mystery to this season that we typically just haven't had a lot of in the Big Ten, because even with the favorites, with your Ohio States, your Oregons, and your Penn States, like Penn State we know has everybody coming back, but Ohio State has a new quarterback. Oregon has a new quarterback. Michigan has a new quarterback. So there's a lot of turnover at a lot of the top teams. So even you're talking about like that second tier, Bud, the top tier is the same way. So it's just everybody feels a little closer to each other, and I really don't know what's going to happen. And that's just a fun way to go into a season.
Yeah, speaking of that top tier, before we get out of here today, we will be holding everyone's feet to the fire. We're going to get some expert picks, who's going to be playing in the Big Ten title game and who's going to win the Big Ten in 2025. I know that this is a little bit incomplete because we continue to have these conversations. We still continue to learn a lot about the teams that we've got. I guess, Tom, you first. What is a team, for positive or negative, that you feel like you have changed your opinion on just in the last couple of days since arriving in Las Vegas?
I mean, there could be some recency bias because we were just interviewing USC offensive tackle Elijah Page, but I'm coming around. I mean, you're our USC hype man, and I don't want to take your job from you, but I do feel like I'm getting a little more kind of sense of confidence about the Trojans from their players, from the coaches, and from people I've talked to than I had coming here. So I think USC is somebody that's kind of climbing up my radar.
I was kind of bullish on Illinois. And then when we talked to their squad, I feel even better about it. Luke Altmaier, I still think he's one of the MVPs of the week for the conversation that we had with him, the impressive nature of the way he handled things. I loved Coach Bielema's mindset here. He came, had some fun, let his player, like he trusts his guys to handle themselves and not get into trouble here, came in for multiple days. So I almost feel better about Illinois because a lot of people are pegging them to be that dark horse, potentially that 4th team to get in the playoffs. So I actually feel a little bit better about them.
Danny kind of stole my answer there with Illinois. Like, they have grown men talking to us. Like, it didn't seem like we were talking to young adults or kids. Like, those guys are very mature. I'll go Nebraska. We got to recall like the upgrade they had in coordinator. I think on offensive coordinator was one of the biggest in the entire country. Obviously, we heard Dylan tell us a lot about Dane Key, the receiver. It's kind of becoming besties with him. I think they're probably going to have to score a lot of points, but I think Nebraska will have a chance to score a lot of points in this league and be improved this year.
And Tom Fornelli, you changed clothes. We are pleased to welcome to the set here UCLA coach Deshaun Foster. 2nd year in a row, coach. We've gotten to spend some time with you going into the season. So I guess I want to start with, in the last 12 months, what were some things about your first year, finally being the head coach of the Bruins, that really stand out as things that have changed about this program?
Just mostly just the conference, being in a different conference, the travel. But other than that, I like where we're at now because I'm in familiar territory.
So to piggyback off that real quick, I remember a year ago you said, I'm wondering what this team is going to look like when they walk into these stadiums.
Exactly.
It's not quite like all the trips that you had in the old conference. How do you think your team handled some of those tougher road environments?
I think they did a really good job because I tried to find ways to have them. We would land and go see the facility. Mm-hmm. I didn't want that to be on game day that morning because, they want to tweet, they want to Instagram, TikTok, whatever they want to do. I wanted to get that out the day before so when we do come into the stadium, we're ready to play. But it's awesome. Being in the Big Ten, you get to play in venues that you don't usually get to play in, so we were excited. We were able to go to Penn State, play at Nebraska. Also played at Washington, something that we've done before. But, I'm just looking forward to this year going to Northwestern, Ohio State, and a couple other schools.
I remember early in the year texting these guys in our group chat during the Hawaii game. I was like, guys, UCLA, I don't know. And then later on in the year, it's like, this is a different ball team. Like, they're actually playing, they're competing, like they're fighting. When was the moment for you that you knew, like, all right, these guys are bought in, it's starting to really kind of come together?
When we hit that 3-game win streak?
Yeah.
It was, I want to say it was after the Minnesota game. So after the Minnesota game, if you would have came out to practice, you could never tell. After the Minnesota game, you couldn't tell our record by the way we were practicing. So I was just looking forward to these guys really coming out here and being resilient and not allowing the outcome of games carry over to the next week. And I think that's when we finally got in our groove and were able to win a couple games.
I know it's a story that's kind of flown under the radar, but you guys do have a new quarterback this year.
Nobody's talking about it, Coach.
Nobody's talked about it at all. But what has that been like for you to have, to have a quarterback like that with his skill set kind of fall in your lap unexpectedly and have the opportunity to get him? He's excited about coming home. We had a chance to talk with him. What's that process been like, getting him acclimated into your offense and developing continuity with his teammates?
He's a huge talent. When you get an opportunity to get a quarterback of his talent, you have to take that. And I'm just lucky that, we were able to develop a relationship prior to him coming to the school, just from seeing him play. Like, I might not have been a coach that was recruiting him, but I still was familiar with his gameplay and everything. But anytime you have a guy that can come in here and he was able to lead his team to the playoffs, and we can get him next season and he can come back home and play, and a lot of guys have already played with him that are in our program, the sky's the limit. So, it was kind of a no-brainer.
Will he be do you have to, because he got there late, he's cramming everything in there. Will you have to slowly implement the offense with him? He's going to be ready to pretty much run the whole offensive playbook week one? How do you see that process unfolding?
He's done a really good job of catching up, and Tino's done a good job of zooming with him and constantly just meeting with him, and they're getting a lot, and him and all the other quarterbacks too. It's not just Nico. So, but it comes down to coaching, In NFL, you get opportunities that you get signed on Wednesday. You might have to play Sunday. And, I have the coaches, and I don't think they're shying away from this opportunity, and they're just looking forward to this challenge. We have a big-time quarterback, and we have to make sure that he's ready to play.
Speaking of getting there late, you got there late last year because Chip didn't, decide to leave until really late. How much different is it for you now that you've actually had a full, a real offseason to implement your staff and how you want the program to be?
Just night and day. It's night and day. Because now, I was just able to insert my leadership on this team with a full year, and they understand that. Now, the running backs understood what the discipline, respect, and enthusiasm, what that meant, but getting the whole team to resonate and really understand, I had to just be in front of them more. And now I finally got the opportunity to continue to go, and so we're excited. I'm looking forward to this. This is a big challenge that we have coming to this year, and we open with Utah as another team that's very similar to our conference, so we're excited about this challenge.
You mentioned Tino earlier. What was it that attracted you to bringing him in and adding him to your staff?
A lot of people don't know, but Tino's father was our D-line coach in Carolina when I played. So I've known Tino since he was 12, 11. He was a little kid. And I'm just watching him develop and just seeing how fiery he is and the passion that he has behind coaching. It was just a no-brainer, really.
What should we expect from that offense?
A lot of points.
Yeah, that's what he does everywhere, right? All throughout his career, it's always been production. It's always been there.
And he's had a really good track record with one-year quarterbacks. Getting him for a year, turning it around, and that kid being successful. So we're just looking forward to this, and I know he's excited about this challenge because, being in the Big Ten, you're going to play some big-time ball, and you need big-time players.
They say there's really no playbook to be a head coach, right? There's a playbook for an offense, there's a playbook for a defense, pretty straightforward, but there's not for a head coach. What, after being on the job for a full year, what changes or tweaks are you making to yourself?
Just growth. You have to be able to, you got to be able to grow. It's not, and even if I'm going in year 40, you still got to be able to grow. Because a lot of these coaches that have coached for a long time, it's transitioning, it's changing. This game has changed. It's not the same game when I played. It's not the same game when I started coaching. And it's most definitely a different game when I'm the head coach now, too. So I don't think that there's many things that I could have done to get me prepared for this, like being an offensive coordinator. I don't think that gets you prepared for being a head coach, because you're still not managing other coaches, and you still might have your position coaches, but you're still not. I don't know what word I'm looking for, but it's just not that. And now I'm pretty excited about what's going on because I'm familiar. Everything that I've done, we've done it. Like you guys said, I got the job late and I had to hit it running. That's all I knew. But now having a complete off season and really putting time into the players that we're bringing in, the coaches that we're bringing in, and making sure that we're evaluating everything the right way, I feel pretty good.
We are excited to see your next year with the Bruins. He is UCLA coach Deshaun Foster. Coach, thank you so much for spending some time with us here on the Cover 3 podcast.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Well, coming up on the other side, from UCLA to their rival USC, we've got Lincoln Riley joining us. All that and more next. Back here on the Cover 3 podcast, live on CBS Sports Network from Big Ten Media Days in Las Vegas, Nevada. Big, big day. We are excited. Very shortly, we will be joined by USC head coach Lincoln Riley. We are going to bring you conversations with Luke Fickell, Dan Lanning, Nico Iamaleava, and so much more. Real quickly, what'd you think, Deshaun Foster, our chance to catch up with him once again?
I thought like he was able to talk about how much his team improved over last year. And remember, he got there late. Like Chip didn't leave UCLA till pretty late, so he got there late.
Yeah, no doubt. I thought the year 1 to year 2, again, it was late. I thought you saw somebody who's way more comfortable being the head coach and in that position and more comfortable talking with the media. And you see a little bit of a quiet confidence about him, I think, this year. And I think it also helps that he's got a new quarterback as well.
Yeah, I think that a little bit of confidence we've got from the head coach coming in on the end. Lincoln Riley from USC here. How's it going, Coach?
We're good. How are you guys?
We're good. This is a fun experience for you, I'm sure. Like a little bit closer to home. How much are we letting Elijah, Mackay, the rest of the squad? Are we taking in all of Las Vegas on this?
No, this is a quick strike mission right here. Yeah, in and out. Yeah, the only way to do Vegas safely, right?
Yeah, 100%. Let's start with your quarterback right now. We talk about the sport, we cover it, and sometimes one of the phrases we like to say is we judge a team, especially in this era, by action, but also by inaction. And that when you're choosing to commit to that quarterback and not trying to bring somebody else in, it means there's a lot of confidence. So what did you see across last season and maybe even into this spring from Jaden that really makes you feel good going into 2025?
Well, first, the 4 games that he played for us, we went 3-1. He gave us a great chance to beat Notre Dame. He made some big-time plays against 4 really good defenses. I mean, those were 4 challenging teams to kind of start off your USC football career. And so I think the way he played in those games, the way our team responded to him, the way he played in clutch situations, really showed a lot to me. And then it told me, all right, the things that we need him to improve at are very doable, right? These are the things that you can really fix. It's tough to make a guy a whole lot faster, you know, or make his arm a whole lot stronger, but these are things we can fix. And he's a hardworking kid. The game is really important to him. His teammates are important to him. Winning is important to him. So we felt like we could work with that and wanted to invest in him and the rest of our quarterback room, feeling like we have what it takes to be a great quarterback room. And so the focus this year has been, I think 2 things for him. One, the leadership piece, finding his voice as a leader, kind of knowing that he's that guy for us. And then I think the second one has been just minimizing some of the big mistakes. And that's for a lot of young quarterbacks, as we know, right? You may make some great plays, but are you offsetting those with big mistakes, right? If your bad plays, go watch Tom Brady in his prime, right? His bad plays were incompletions, were ugly throwaways, and it's winning football. And I think Jaden is understanding that and maturing, and I think that'll show up this fall.
You've had a lot of really good receivers play for you over the years. Your 2 backups who left in the portal are probably going to start and be the number 1 at Florida State and Georgia. What does that say about the room you still have there in LA, and how would you compare this room, maybe some of the better rooms you've had?
It's got a chance to be a really good room. Both Mekhi Lemon and Jacoby Lane, really, separated themselves for us last year, and ended up being the two guys that we really wanted to, invest in going forward. And this modern era of college football, you got to make those decisions, right? You got to make some of those tough ones, just like you do at the NFL level. And so, but their production, Mekhi from an overall standpoint, was tremendous. He was a great kick returner, great on other special teams. He has just a really wide-ranging impact. Jacoby's really unique, just his ability to make some of the catches that he makes, his catch radius, and some of the playmaking ability, his ability to score touchdowns, is up there. And so those guys can get better, and we feel like we've added some pretty cool pieces around them. So I'm excited about the depth, the talent, how explosive this group is. So it's got a chance to be a really good one.
I remember last year you had a comment, I don't remember what game it was after, but like, we're close. Like, believe it or not, we're close. And there were some losses that were tough against really good teams. What do you do to change some of those close losses into wins this year?
Yeah, really every one of them was, and yeah, I think that's right. That's the natural question, right? And I think your first inclination is, all right, well, you have to play better late in games, which there's definitely a part of that that's true. No question. You got to go close it out and make some of those key plays at the end. Absolutely. But also part of it is, in a lot of those games, we had the lead with opportunities to really end the game, and put it out of reach. And I was honestly a little more disappointed that we missed some of those opportunities to just separate, where at the end it's not going to come down to one play or one call or whatever. And so, yeah, I think the answer is you got to get a little bit better everywhere. I don't see one part of our program, our team right now, where I'm like, man, we're a long ways away from looking like a team that could win a national championship. But every part of it's just got to keep growing. I couldn't say that a couple of years ago. I can say it now. And so I think that's the exciting part. And I think we're exhibiting signs of a group that's going to continue to get better and better across the board.
Do you ever feel like you've had to become an executive or like a CEO? Because I think about some of the big changes that don't have to do with the X's and the O's or even building a depth chart. You bring in Chad Bowden. You make some changes to the strength staff. You're helping lead real facility improvements to help USC be able to keep up in kind of this arms race that has become big-time college football. How has that CEO type role, how do you feel in that position?
Well, I've enjoyed it, parts of it. It's been a lot, especially, like you said, you're taking over and trying to rebuild or restart a program in the middle of all this, right? It's not just one thing. It's kind of the combination of all. Yeah, there are times, I think, here in the beginning where it's pulled me away from maybe coaching as much as I wanted to, or doing more of this or doing more of that, but that's just what the program needed. We're to a point now where being able to go hire, Chad and the rest of the personnel staff that we brought in, because we brought in some all-stars around him, being able to go hire Rob Ryan, bring him in, Tremaine Carroll's our strength coach. Like, we're able to go get some of these high-quality people now because people, see what we're doing, and they're pretty excited about coming to work at FC. And so it's like it was a lot, but now actually, in the last 4 or 5 months, I would say I've probably coached more in the last 4 or 5 months than I have in a long, long time, because as these things get settled and you get great people in these areas, it allows you to kind of go back to maybe what got you into this in the first place, and that's certainly what I've experienced this spring.
And it's positive, right? That's something you've got to feel
phenomenal.
Good about.
I've missed it.
What's something you learned about this league in y'all's first year here that you can take going forward?
I don't know that I have some crazy answer. I think just simply, everybody wants to make a big deal about the travel, and I think everybody will find little nuances where they can do it better. I don't know that that's as big a deal as people are making it. To me, it's new teams, new coaches, new things schematically, new rosters you're going against, new venues you're going into, new officiating crews that you're getting used to. How do they call it? It's more just the competitive parts of it to me, that you're assessing what your opponents are and what you've got to do to beat them. And so when you get in a league for a little while, you get that familiarity. And there's a little bit less new, and really everything was new last year. So I think our comfortability with that, I think, will grow, but it's a hell of a league.
There's a lot of uncertainty about the future of college football and the playoff setup and how those teams qualify for the playoffs. And I know scheduling has been a big topic of conversation. You've had some interesting comments about the Notre Dame rivalry. How do we fix it so we can get the best for college football fans? Because I totally understand that, we saw Indiana cancel the Virginia series. We've seen other coaches in other conferences try to make sure they have the clearest path to have the best record at the end of the season. How do we fix that so we can get the best rivalry games, the best matchups during the season, and still have a great postseason?
There's only one way to fix it. You have to take it out of a committee's hands as much as you can. Like there's, no matter how good the intent is, okay, no matter how smart or experienced people you have on it, how does somebody sit there and say, all right, if you're LSU last year, all right, you lose to USC in game one, right there at the end of the game, close game. Well, somebody else played an FCS opponent and won by 31 points. How do you say which one was more value or less value or hurt more or help more? Like, nobody can do that. Like, it's always going to be so subjective. And so I think you got to take it out of the committee's hands, and that's as much as possible. And that's, coming out of Big Ten meetings, that's at the end of the day where we said, look, if we can do that, where everybody knows what the parameters are, everybody knows what we're trying to do, everybody knows what it takes to get in, all right, then you can still preserve some of the old history of college football without disrupting what you're trying to do, or maybe putting your own school at a competitive disadvantage. And it's it's I know there's a lot of thoughts around it, but if we have any interest in preserving the old history, this is the only way, period, in my mind.
Would you go back to the BCS?
No.
Okay.
Good.
No.
I want to get rid of the committee altogether.
Yeah.
I can't stand the committee in the selection process.
No, and right now, unless unless there's more radical changes, as long as these conferences have different things, then you got to keep it within conference and let these teams go earn it with their conference schedule.
That's exactly what the USC Trojans are going to be looking to do in 2025. He is Lincoln Riley, the head coach of the Trojans. Thank you so much for spending some time with us here on the Cover 3 podcast.
Absolutely.
Well, coming up on the other side, our conversation with Wisconsin coach Luke Fickell and more next. Back here on the Cover 3 podcast, and what an honor and a privilege it is to be joined by Wisconsin head coach Luke Fickell. Coach, thank you so much for taking some time out of what I'm sure is a little bit of a hectic day. How are you? You open camp in 6 days. Are you hungry? Are you ready to get into the season?
Boy, I can't get here fast enough. And as you get to this point, it's what becomes difficult, right? It's like a kid waiting on Christmas. As you get to that last week, it's like, hey, how fast can we get there? In the middle of the summer, everybody's like, I can't wait to the season. You're like, well, we still got some time. But now you get within that week, and it's like, why don't we just start now? So yeah, we got a lot of things to prove. So we're excited about getting started. That's for sure.
Yeah, there's been a lot of changes for the team over the offseason. You've got a new offensive coordinator coming in. You've got the transfer quarterback in Billy Edwards, who's coming from Maryland. What did you see from Billy Edwards that made you want to bring him to Madison and think that's our guy going forward?
Even before I knew him, just looking back at his story in some ways, I love guys that have been through the ups and the downs. I love guys that have had some adversity. I love guys that, I don't want to say failed, but that are aware of what their failures may have been. Mm-hmm. And to see him and what he's gone through, whether it was at Wake Forest or whether it was at Maryland, and then to get a chance to visit with him and recognize and see his maturity, his humility behind all those things, it just showed me that, hey, this is a guy that's got the leadership qualities, the skills, the maturity that's going to take to tackle, to climb this mountain that we know is in front of us.
I was talking to these guys before, and I was like, it feels like we could plug in the questions that we asked you last year, because there's a lot of the same questions coming up. The schedule's really tough, new quarterback, new system. What is that like for you? How challenging is that to have so much turnover in a short period of time?
Well, I think that's been the toughest thing with the last 2 years and going into the third year, is the quarterback room in general. And I know it's always been, you're a quarterback. It's always been one of those rooms where, hey, there's got to be a development piece. There's going to have to be some backups and some guys within that room that are going to have to grow and mature. And you never know when you're going to need them. But it's also been the one piece in the last 4 years that become even harder to maintain, right? I mean, keeping young guys in your system that they can grow if they aren't playing right away. And so That's been tough. It's the third year now with a 1-year quarterback, which is a challenge in itself because going into the season, there's a lot more question marks. And I'm not saying there's question marks. Billy's done a lot. He's played a lot of ball. But just how all those things come together, how all that leadership works, and how that the mesh of what a team looks like, there's a lot more unknowns as you get rolling here in 6 days than if you've got somebody that's been there.
With you guys not having the success that I'm sure you would like or your fans would like, are you the type that says, all right, we're going to keep doing what I've been doing and had success at other places? Are you trying new things every year? Like, what's your thought process?
Well, I think there's still a core value to what we know wins and what can and will win at the University of Wisconsin. That's why I was brought there. I think the whole connection with Chris McIntosh and being a former great player, an All-American, he knows what this place is all about and what it was going to take, and we're on the same page. It just, unfortunately, over 2 years, I don't know that we had seen the growth and those things that were going to give us the best chance to be successful. And it's easy to point at the offense and to say, well, how do you think you're going to be tough and physical when you're in an air raid offense? And to be honest with you, the idea of any great coach and any great system has the ability to adapt. And what we found out and what we didn't do a good enough job was adapting to what it is that we had to do to be successful. And so that's why some of the changes are made. And I think it puts us in a better place to continue to grow and keeps the same core philosophy, but lets you live your life a little bit different.
There's been a lot of focus, obviously, on the offense, but one thing I'm interested in is there's been, like, you look at your defensive line in the portal this year, there's been kind of like a change in the personnel. What are you looking at, or what do you like about the guys that you've brought in this year?
See, finally, somebody that digs into something deeper than just a quarterback. I mean, we're called Cover 3, so we know quarterbacks design this, an idea of it's all about the back end, it's all about throwing the football. But if you said, hey, what's the biggest change within your whole entire program, I'd say the defensive front in particular. Last year we had one guy that was 300-plus pounds. And I think right now, going into the season, we might have 7. In particular, up front, inside a little bit more than anything else. But that's been the biggest difference. And we knew that was an area where we had to get better. We knew that was an area where we had to grow. And it was a way for us to kind of change a lot of things. And we had to do that through the transfer portal. And I think it's been really good for us. Obviously, we'll find out here real soon.
You won 76% of your games at Cincinnati. So how has the growth process been for you taking on a little bit of a new challenge in terms of the ups and downs? Is that one of the reasons why you even see that in Billy? When you see that in some players, that everyone's trying to get back on that front foot together?
Yeah, it is. I mean, everybody likes to say, the game is different. And no, the game is not different. And, well, okay, the landscape's different. But developing teams, growing teams, yes, there's some more things that are involved in it, but it still hasn't changed. It's finding ways to get young men to kind of mesh together, whether there's a new element of contracts and money within your locker room. It's still the same thing. It's how do you find this idea of what complementary football looks like? And I've said it out there on the, as I spoke a little bit earlier, complementary football to us isn't just on Saturday. It's pretty cliche, right, for a coach to get up there and say, that was complementary football if we had success. The offense and defense and special teams played off each other. But complementary football, when you dive down into it, is really a core at the belief of all that you do and how you all work and mesh together from offense, defense, special teams, and the culture of all those things. And for me and for us, I think that's where the biggest change, even more so than the size of the defensive line or the offense, it comes down to, hey, how do we do everything that we do, whether it's December or January or come August 28th in game 1, how do we do everything to do what we need to do to enhance one another, sacrifice for each other to give us the best opportunity as a whole?
A lot has been brought up about the schedule. Like, we ranked the toughest schedules in the country this year, and I'm pretty sure we all had Wisconsin in the top 5. Yours is a very difficult slate this year. There's not anything you can do about the Big Ten schedule. But what I'm wondering is, Alabama came to Madison last year. You're going to Alabama this year. I love these kind of home-and-homes where these big-time programs are playing on campus. But with the uncertainty in the college football playoff format, is there any kind of change in the way you feel like you might approach that in the future?
Well, even if there is, these things are scheduled out so far in advance. I mean, like, I know we've seen some people buy out of some of these things, and there's obviously, a lot of lip service with what's the best thing and moving forward. I just think that what President or Commissioner Petiti has in mind, moving forward, our ability to get this 16-team playoff, to have the 4 AQs, to have the play-in concept. I mean, like, that to me is where everything lies. Like, if we can do that, then it's great to have these preseason matchups. It doesn't affect you as much. It becomes closer to what that NFL schedule looks like, and it's like put us in a position in those last couple weeks to have a chance to play and put ourselves, into that playoff mix. And, I just think right now, not knowing, I know these games are all scheduled out, but not knowing, it makes it a little bit more difficult to sign off on that sheet of paper that in 2031 you're gonna play Virginia Tech or something. Like, okay, well, what's it gonna look like in 2031? Like, let's try to figure out what it's gonna look like next year. But I think if we can do that, I think it gives us all a greater opportunity to say, hey, we all got better chances, and why don't we do a Big Ten SEC challenge?
The last 4 or 5 years in college football, we've seen more change than the previous 50. Like, it's been crazy, and it's still never ending. It's like this abyss of problems that just keeps cropping up. We had the House settlement just about 3 weeks ago, and already it looks like that's blown up. We're going to get this structure
as of this morning, right?
Right. And all of a sudden, it's like, well, what happened to that salary cap, and what happened to the the collectives and the role they were going to play? And it was going to be different. Nobody feels bad for coaches. I do, because you guys get paid a lot of money, but I honestly don't know how you guys plan and build a roster when you don't even know what system you're going to be working under. How frustrating is that?
It's frustrating. I think that for ones that are more structured and want to develop structure, it's been more difficult, and that's where I kind of say we that's who we want to be, and this is how we're going to do it. And we're not going to get caught in a situation once this thing's signed that we're going to be behind the 8 ball and not able to have flexibility in the things that we want to be able to do. And as the end line continues to change and adjust, it just it reminds me that we got to be creative. I mean, it's like every football, right? If you do things the same way you've done them, doesn't mean you change but like if you don't have creativity, if you don't have flexibility, if you don't have the ability to adapt and adjust, and find a way to give yourself a competitive advantage, then you are stuck behind. And what the last 4 years of college football has allowed for is the guys who have been more creative, the guys who have been more aggressive in some of those ways, they've either solidified themselves in a better position or have helped put themselves in a better position. And so, yes, I would love structure. Yes, I would love for there to be some semblance of, hey, we're going to stick with this thing.
We had it for 3 weeks. We had it.
And those that put a structure in place, it's almost like this crazy thing that I don't want to bring back up of COVID. Like, it always switched every other week. It's kind of rewarding some of the people that are, fly by the seat of their pants. And it is what it is. I'm not complaining about it. It's the world we live in. The great thing is, in 6 days for us, a lot of those things go to the back burner, and it's all about, hey, how do you get 105 or 118, depends on right. How do you get those guys all to mesh together, gel together, and to play your best ball?
What about the calendar? Is that one thing where because we all respect the work that you've done, you've been in this game, you care about this game so much. Is the calendar one thing? That feels concrete. It feels like we can change some things there if we wanted to. What's your position on that?
I mean, in what part of the calendar? I think that's what we're talking. Like I don't even know where spring ball is going to be next year. I mean, there's been 3 different models, right? Not to bring up the transfer portal, we don't exactly know where the transfer portal is going to be. So all those things that don't allow you to create the structure, yeah, it makes it difficult. I tell you, nobody's feeling sorry for coaches. They make a lot of money, but it is a little bit more difficult in a way to try to live your life. To try to raise a family, to try to say, hey,
celebrate the holidays.
Maybe we'll have a vacation or something. I mean, it makes it more difficult, and for me as a traditionalist, I'm going to be in this game for a while longer, and I want to do what's best for the game. That's hard to do when you've got to focus on the things that's best for you, and that's where I think right now in college it's really difficult. We take all the opinions of all these coaches, and it's really hard to be objective. And we just need somebody, and that's where I think Commissioner Petiti, hopefully we can get together with the SEC and just say, like, look, everybody's going to sue based on if it's not the best fit for them. What do we really want to do as a whole? And let's try to put some parameters in place, and don't let everybody, kind of go left to center every time that things aren't a competitive advantage for them. But nonetheless, it's going to continue to be a little bit chaotic, and, you got to be able to roll with it.
Let's forget all this off the field stuff. Let's talk ball. You mentioned camp starting in 6 days. You've had spring practices. I'm a huge Ricardo Hallman fanboy. I loved what he's been able to do for the Badgers the last few years. But who's standing out so far that you've been able to see that maybe he's not a household name, but you think somebody that's ready to kind of step into the spotlight and become one this season?
Well, I'll say something about Ricardo too. Is going into last year, he's coming off a shoulder surgery, and sometimes even the hype of things puts you in a position that, is a little bit different. And I'm not saying he didn't prepare last year. He was obviously, injured going into the season, and he's in a much different place right now. There's a humble side of him that has done an incredible job in this offseason. In a lot of ways, continued to change his body. I think he's a stronger, faster guy, and I look for him to have a great year. In the back end with him is Austin Brown. Austin's a safety guy that, to the people of Madison and Wisconsin would have an idea, has played some football, hasn't been a big-time starter maybe in the last few years, but as talented of a football player as we have on the team. And I really look for him to be a guy that is going to take some of those next steps. And then the other guy on the defense is Christian Allegro. Probably started the last couple of games of the season, but is more in the mold of what people of Madison, the people of Wisconsin would grow to expect from some of those linebackers that are playing the NFL now. So those are a couple of guys' names on the defensive side of the ball. And then offensively, to be honest with you, I think it's going to come down as much as anything as to our running back room. I can't tell you exactly, but if there's one spot, there's one position outside of the quarterback, we know, that's going to determine the trajectory of what that offense really looks like. The history of Wisconsin, is NFL running backs, right? Great NFL running backs. Where are we? I love our room. We've got some youth. We've got some older guys. We've got the most competitive group on our entire team. There's a battle of three guys with the fourth guy. Like, what comes out of that room and how high end, what type of, are they NFL type backs, is going to be a big determining factor on how well that offense runs.
You said you got, 6 days till you report? What are you going to do after this? Like, in the 6 days you have left, are you like last minute cramming, or you get away?
No, the last 2 weeks we've been back in the office. This is a week off for the coaches and really most of the players to kind of get away before they go to camp. I'll be sticking around here in Vegas for another day and taking a little ride on an F-16 tomorrow.
Nice.
Try to challenge myself. It's been a while. I did it about 12 to 15 years ago. I can't remember, and it took a lot off my body. And
they make you puke, because that's the thing.
Yes, they did.
Yeah. They want to show.
I'm going to
I don't want to do that.
I'm not going to feel real well. I can honestly tell you that. But it's a challenge and an exciting thing. But yeah, so I'll stick around for another day. That's my ability to relax a little bit. Try to torture myself to see what my body can handle.
He is Wisconsin head coach Luke Fickell, soon to be flying in an F-16 in the skies near you. Coach, best of luck this season. Thank you for spending time with us on the Cover 3 podcast.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Back here on the Cover 3 podcast, live from Big Ten Media Days. And it is a pleasure to be joined by Oregon head coach Dan Lanning. Dan, you took some time to hang out with us last year, and you're back. So I appreciate you tolerating our nonsense year over year. But it is an exciting time for the Oregon football program, because you jumped in a new league and you won the daggum thing. But now there's more work to be done. How are you feeling as we get ready to open camp and really turn our attention on the 2025 season?
I'm excited. Yeah, I'm excited. New team, new challenges, new venues that we're going to get to go play in. Some places I haven't been. It's going to be a lot of fun. And the thing you don't know is probably what excites me the most. What are the things that we're going to have to adapt to? What are the adjustments we'll make? Who will become the players that we think they can become? So all those things are fun to figure out.
Dan, you lost Dylan Gabriel, obviously, who was the only quarterback I saw to throw a touchdown pass in Brown's practice today, because apparently they're charting that.
People keep track of it pretty close.
What did you see out of your quarterback room, though, in practice last year that said, hey, we're not going to go in the transfer portal this year to bring somebody in for this cycle?
Yeah, one, you always want to be competitive, right? You always want to find guys that you think you can play winning football with. And I feel like we have a quarterback room that has that, right? Whether it's Dante, Austin, Luke Moga, like those are guys that all I think can go out there and win games for us and compete. There's a lot of confidence in the guys that we have on that side of the ball in general. So being able to take advantage of that and develop it within is something that's really important to us.
How's it been different for you guys, though, preparing for this year with that position? Because, you've had Bo Nix and Dylan Gabriel, two guys who had plenty of experience before they were suiting up for the Ducks.
Right.
But now you've got Dante, who did have some starting experience as a freshman, but overall, it's not the same, 23, 24-year-old COVID quarterback anymore.
Right.
So How's the preparation been different this year for that?
The prep is not really that different. I think the piece that's different is you look at that room, there's not that senior mentor. There's not that guy that's been playing for a long time. So they've kind of become their own mentors. They're really supporting each other. They understand what it's supposed to look like because they've seen it at the highest level, and now they're activating that themselves.
When you arrived in Eugene, you understood what you needed to do in terms of recruiting and acquiring talent. We're at a point in your building process where some of those early classes are now going to be some of the leaders, and where you had to go out and get some guys from the portal for the early years. Mateo, the rest of those classes. Are you excited to see their growth? And who else do you think really might be bursting onto the scene with a lot of opportunities, snaps, and reps that are up for grabs?
Yeah, so this past season was the first time to see some of the guys that we started with and grew from the beginning have that opportunity to go to the NFL draft. Jordan James, Josh Connelly, both those guys were drafted after being with us for 3 years. But now this is the group that's really been with us for 4 years, and it's exciting to see. It's definitely exciting to see.
When we spoke on Signing Day on CBS, you were really excited about Sherrone Moore. How was he for you in spring, and what are you expecting out of the freshman receiver this year?
Well, he's what's to be expected, right? He's a guy that can make dynamic plays. He's a learner. He wants to be coached. He goes out there and he works really hard every single day. And then every once in a while you see him make a play and you're like, how is that possible? How'd you do that? And I'm really excited about what he brings to this team, his competitive nature, his attitude he steps on the field with every day. So it's going to be a fun season watching him.
Player I'm really interested in learning about is, you mentioned, Josh Connelly's gone. You have two new tackles. Isaiah World, the transfer from Nevada.
Yeah.
What can you tell me about him? Because I've seen in mock drafts, he's already being projected as like a top 10, top 20 pick, and he hasn't even suited up for you guys yet. So what are you seeing in practice so far from this kid?
Well, we've all seen a lot of mock drafts, right, that don't always get executed the exact same. So I would tell you that just like and I know, Isaiah is not really that focused on that piece. He's excited about what it's going to take to get to that point. He's an unbelievable teammate. This guy walks in the building every day with a smile on his face. He has a history as a basketball player in his background, so that's why you see a guy that's so athletic at his size, and he can move bodies. God doesn't make a lot of people that look like him, and he's had a great spring, had a great summer for us, so excited to see what he does.
A little bit of I don't know about off-the-wall thought, but back in February, you shared your son Niles, the stop-motion video that you put together. It was awesome. It was really good. And I guess I wanted to know, number one, did you watch how meticulous and how long that process was? And number two, is that kind of like putting together a game plan on Saturdays with like every single detail has to be absolutely perfect to make it happen?
I've never thought about it like that. He's got great patience. I don't know if I have the same patience that he has, but I released that one video, but he's made a ton of those.
Oh, I'm sure.
He's written, the other day I walked into his room and was it Minesweep or what's the
Minecraft?
Minecraft. Yeah. He's like, Dad, did you see the Minecraft movie? And I said, no. He goes, well, I really didn't like the script, so he started rewriting the script.
Love that.
He's typing. I'm like, how far are you? He's like, I'm just getting started. I was like, well, how many pages? He goes, well, it's 12 right now. This guy's, just turned 14. So he's just, what I want for my kids is them to chase their passion.
Yeah.
Like, whatever you're passionate about, I want that to be. Of course, I'd love to see them all playing football, but my youngest plays football. He's into movies. Niles is into movies and writing and creating. My oldest is in the band. So they all have their own interests, and it's fun seeing them all elevate and chase greatness.
It's awesome.
Wildly successful year for y'all last year. Obviously, first year in the Big Ten, and you go and win the Big Ten. But what lessons can you take as a coach from last year you can apply going forward? Like, what'd you learn?
I mean, you learn a lot every single year. And, you get this question throughout the day a couple of different times. But I don't know that there's anything hard truth to say, like, this is the one thing. If we do this one thing, football encompasses so many things. I think what I've learned more than anything is, like, relationships still matter, right? You have to have great relationships with your players. You have to have great buy-in, and you have to have, players that execute at a really high level because they believe in what they're doing. We've had that here in Eugene. We're really close. So it kind of goes back to what I've said earlier today. It's about doubling down. It's about attacking our process and doing it at an even higher level.
You mentioned earlier today during your press conference about the idea of ending the season earlier, maybe around January 1st. What's the impetus behind that idea?
Well, I think we're trying to serve two different situations here. One, we say we want the playoffs, and then one, we say we want bowl games, right? And the reality is, do we want playoffs? Just so we know, playoffs exist in almost every other sport, and they don't look at all like our playoffs, right? So why don't we just play every single Saturday, reserve that for college football? I think the season, most people's semesters ends around Christmas break and the New Year's. The 1 month that you get to go out as a coach and recruit is the month of January. Well, not if you're still playing in playoff games, right? So it'd be great if the season ended. We have week 0 games already. Why not start the season closer to week 0? We have 2 bye weeks. We used to always have 1, right? Let's have, 1 bye week later in the season. Let's go right into championship games or even remove those potentially and get right into the playoffs.
It would also pair nicely if they move the portal,
Well, that's the thing. If you have new kids starting school, they're starting school and you're actually still playing the season, that's a little bit different. Or how do you go recruit them, right? If you're still competing in the playoffs, you're not going to go on the road recruit. Well, as a head coach now, we can't go out in May. You can't go out in December. The only time you can go out is January. Well, you're not going to go out.
Rule, right?
Yeah, you're not going to go out if you're not going to be able to go out if you're still competing and playing for your team. So, in my mind, college football makes sense to end earlier. And maybe it's not January 1st, but it certainly isn't January 25th or January 20th.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think you read your
maybe you did. My proposal, I had a playoff proposal that has a season ending earlier.
Well, what do you think about playoff games being played at the schools as well?
I want them on campus.
All the way.
As many as possible.
So again, like I said, we're trying to serve 2 different things. And bowl games are great. I've been a part of unbelievable bowl games, but that's a different format, right? If the format is a playoff, which exists in FCS football, which exists in a lot of other sports, there is like kind of a standard that's been laid out. This is what it looks like. Why not follow that standard?
I think I know your answer to this one. I love the Rose Bowl, but where would you rather played last year?
Rose
Bowl or at Autzen?
I would have been all right with being in Autzen.
Yeah. When you think about your relationship with Dante goes back to the recruiting process.
Yeah.
How have you seen him grow? What have been some of the things that have stood out to you?
Just the level of maturity. Yeah, the level of maturity that he has. And not that he was ever immature, but I think that when you get exposed to what our players get exposed to in college football and the noise and what exists, you start to have different levels of empathy for those players, and then you realize that their emotions change over time. But you look at a guy that was so hungry, so eager to go play. I think that there's a level of maturity that says this guy's going to come here knowing that Dylan Gabriel's probably got the upper hand to be the guy that played this year, and he's saying, hey, that's a chance for me to grow, watch, learn from a great player, and be able to lead into a future career for myself.
With the new playoff format, Ryan Day talked about this a little bit yesterday, but the concept of pacing and maybe can't dance around. It's like load management, like the NBA does, or NFL. Do you have to coach it differently with the perspective, being a 16 or 17 game season?
Well, there's definitely differences. I think each team's different. You want to try to lay out somewhat of a roadmap and say, hey, this is our current plan. But that's where the communication with your sports science department, your strength staff, being able to evaluate and test your guys throughout the season for injury risk, whether it's hamstring strength or jump testing numbers, that has to impact how you practice at the end of the year. So there's certainly some adaptations that happen, but a lot of those happen based on information you get. So you got to just be ready to change.
You mentioned earlier you were excited to visit some new venues this year that you haven't seen yet. Which one are you most excited to see?
Well, I think the only one I haven't been to, I'd take that too. I haven't been to Northwestern and I haven't been to Penn State. I got to experience Iowa before.
A little bit different atmospheres, I'm just going to tell you.
They're not the same?
No, they're not. Although one, I will say, playing right on the lakefront, kind of cool. But
and this is the last year that happens, correct?
Yeah.
So that's going to be a 1-for-1, right? So getting to experience that. Penn State, I've never been to. I've been to Rutgers before. I know we'll be there. Excited to see some of those places.
What did it mean to you? I was in Ann Arbor.
Yeah.
And y'all are coming off the field, and there are so many Oregon fans that have all made their way. They're down to the tunnel. Players are going crazy. Do you see that impact as you're going around, just whether it's your fan base traveling or Oregon fans, the true national impact, national brand of Oregon football?
Yeah, and I think Oregon's had a reputation as a national brand for a while, but now to get to play in a conference that truly is a national brand, I think that's only supported us and enhanced that opportunity. We've always recruited the nation, right? But we've primarily played on the West Coast. Now having the opportunity to play on the East Coast, the Midwest, and the West Coast, I think that's created some great opportunities for us and that brand to grow.
You've been pretty blessed to have the same coaching staff, assistant coaches for a while now.
Yeah.
How have you seen them grow and evolve?
Man, every one of them improves. They challenge me every single day. I think we got some future stars when it comes to head coaching opportunities at some point for some of these guys. You look at my mirror, I always write my goals in my mirror, and at the top of my mirror, it's help my people reach their dreams and goals. These guys have worked so hard and been a part of what we've created here at Oregon that I want to have those same opportunities happen for them. But what's happened in turn is we've made this so good and this situation has become so awesome here that they're not really anxious to leave, right? We've got a really great product. We've got great opportunities. It's an awesome place to raise your family. So it's created a really great dynamic for us.
We were talking about the Dylan and the Cleveland opening, the Cleveland quarterback battle. Quite a hot topic of conversation in the NFL scene.
Well, what else are you going to talk about in July?
Nothing.
Well, stop motion videos, things of that nature. Have you maintained a line of communication there?
Yeah, my wife actually just saw his fiance this past week. So my youngest son went and played a flag football tournament over there in Ohio. So I think they got to stop by and catch up. But we're really proud of Dylan. We're proud of all of our guys that have gone on to the NFL, and excited to see what they do this season and in the future.
10 was a program record, right?
10 was a program record. Year before that was 8, and that was a program record.
That's right. That each year.
So, given that you had so much NFL talent on the team last year, who were some guys, first-year starters, that our fans at home and your fans at home should be looking out for to know?
So I always get this question, and you guys always hate this answer, like, watch the games. I don't know. Like, I'm excited to see what shows up, but I'm not going to make any false predictions. Like, you guys have mock drafts. There's no mock. Hey, this guy's going to be really good. I do think we have some elite players that are going to really show up, but I'm kind of reserving that for game day.
The most important question I have for you right now. Will Puddles let you ride the motorcycle?
Would I ride the motorcycle, I think, is the more important question. At one point during COVID, I was convinced I was going to get like an Indian motorcycle. I think I just watched Benjamin Button. I was like, man, that looks so badass. Right? But I'm sure I could ride it if I asked.
I would be trying to ride it. That would be the first thing I would be doing. I was like, can I ride the bike?
My motorcycle phase is kind of come and gone.
But you had one?
No.
Okay.
Like in my mind.
Yes, like your interest in getting out on.
I mean, I was excited, but yeah, it's kind of come and gone.
Yeah,
you see one motorcycle crash, and you're kind of like, I'm good.
I don't know if I've got that dog in me. I've got a lot of relentless energy, Dan, but I don't know if I can get on that bike like that. He is Dan Lanning, the head coach, the reigning Big Ten champion Oregon Ducks. Dan, thank you so much once again for spending time on the Cover 3 podcast.
Appreciate it.
Back here on the Cover 3 podcast, it is an exciting time to be a UCLA Bruins football fan, and a lot of that is because of the man right here on the end. We are pleased to be joined by Bruins quarterback Nico Iamaleava. Thank you so much for spending some time with us here on the Cover 3 podcast.
Yes, sir. Thank you guys for having me.
So I got to ask, I haven't heard much about you this offseason. Anything interesting happen?
Yeah, man. I officially came back home and found me a place at UCLA, and yeah, man, I'm excited at what we got going on.
What was that process like for you? I mean, it was crazy. We cover the sport for a living. We haven't seen a story like that, since we've been covering it. What was it like for you personally? Because people had their theories. You're taking a lot of criticism. What was that like for you?
Yeah, me personally, man, it was me just wanting to get back home to my family. And Coach Foster gave me the opportunity to do that, and I couldn't pass up on that. So I'm happy where I'm at, and I'm excited, to go to work with the boys.
So how's the transition been for you now that you're with the Bruins and you're getting in the new offense with Tino Sinceri? How are things going so far?
Transition's been great, man. It's a little different than what I'm used to coming from Tennessee. But yeah, man, I love what Tino has going on. Just the different verbiage, the different play style that he has. I'm adapting well to it. So.
Ever since, you were a prospect coming up in high school, there's always been a ceiling, a projection, a thought of what you were going to be able to accomplish. As you start to think about your own progression and maybe even look back at a successful season at Tennessee, right? Making the college football playoff, racking up a lot of wins. Yeah. What are some areas about your game that you're really looking to improve on as now you're trying to get it done with a new team at UCLA?
For sure, yeah. I think it's really just my control and, demand of the offense. I think, really going into the details of, what we have going on and really executing all the little things that we need to in our offense. And I think that's something that we got to work on every day coming to practice, and I think we're doing a good job of that.
There's so many intricacies to the game, especially in different offenses and different personnel that you've got to get used to. And now you got a short window to do that. What have you done to try to establish yourself as a leader, develop rapport with the receivers, get those offensive linemen to want to block for you? What types of things have you done? Have you kind of crammed this so you're ready to go week one?
For sure, yeah. That's really just spending more time with them. You know, I get a lot of work in with the receivers and tight ends, and you know, just not in practice hours. So, you know, whether that's me going to my QB workouts or, you know, us just getting extra hours in on the field. So, and then with the O-line, we had a little bowling event that we went to. You know, bowled the ball a little bit, and yeah, man, we just had a great time just hanging out with each other.
Who was the best one?
Yeah, how's your game?
The best one, well, see, we had all the quarterbacks there too. So
Yeah.
my dog Henry Hasselbeck and you know Madden, my little brother and Luke Duncan were getting the most of it on my slides. I didn't really get to see, you know, their slides, but I knew we had.
Did you beat
a lot
the other
more.
QBs?
I didn't. No, I didn't. Bowling's not really my thing. You know, the younger guys got me on that for sure.
As everything's going on, you know, what are some of the keys that helped you sort of stay grounded, you know, stay insulated through, you know, whether it's media conversation, how are you able to make sure that you weren't distracted at all during the transition?
Yeah, I think that just starts with my family, man. You know, really just focusing on me and you know, my family's got my best interest. So I really think just, you know, honing in on what I got to do. I know what I want to do, and that's play football. So I think my family had a big part in that, just supporting me in, you know, rough times. So I'm happy where I'm at now. You know, I'm with my family, and it's been great.
You know, we had him on the show last year, and he'll be on with us later today. Coach Foster, we love him. We love his energy. How are you enjoying your new time with him?
Yeah, I love Coach Foster, man. Definitely a guy, you know, kids want to play for. You know, a player coach, and you know, I love what Coach Foster has going on, and you know, I'm excited to play for him.
What's your relationship like with your brother? I mean, obviously you guys are close, but are you guys like living together? Or is it
Yeah.
you guys drive like pushing each other competitively? Is it like one of those things where he looks up to you? What's that relationship?
Yeah, man. Yeah, he's still with me, and man, it's been great just having him in the QB room with me. And yeah, man, I'm just trying to be a helping hand to him in anything he needs. You know, he's his own person, so he's grown into his own, man, and it's exciting to see him. You know how far he's come. So, you know, him just starting, you know, playing quarterback his freshman year of high school, and to see where he's at now has been. I can't do nothing but be proud of him. So, yeah, I'm proud of that guy.
What can UCLA accomplish this season? I mean, I know no one's setting any win totals on this, and you know you're still getting to know the team, but you know, this is a group that I think we talked about on the Cover 3 podcast. The UCLA team that took the field at the beginning of the season, the UCLA field that took the team that got on the field at the end of the season, like, there was a lot of improvement there. You know, you could see it happening on the fly. So, what do you think can be accomplished this season for the Bruins?
Yeah, man, we want to bring championships back to Westwood. So, you know, Coach Foss and the whole strength staff, you know, the whole real coaching staff, you know, got expectations for us to meet, and all the guys and us in the locker room believe that we'll meet those expectations. And yeah, man, I think us just staying together and you know, we can accomplish anything we want.
He is UCLA quarterback Nico Iamaleava. Fired up to see you on the Big Ten this season. Thank you so much for spending some time with the Cover 3 podcast.
Appreciate y'all.
Thank you, Nico.
Yes, sir.
Back here on the Cover 3 podcast, live from Big Ten Media Days in Las Vegas, Nevada. Our many, many thanks to Nico Iamaleava, to Dan Lanning, to Luke Fickell. We have just had a cavalcade of stars. I mean, Deshaun Foster, Lincoln Riley. But enough of the coaches and players. Let's listen to ourselves talk just a little bit.
Finally.
All right, now is the time for us not to be, not to be very tame. No, we are asking for bold, okay? So let's go bold predictions for the Big Ten in 2025. Bud Elliott, what's your bold prediction?
The Big Ten gets 7 teams in the final
playoff?
25.
Well, we would instantly have a change to the selection process if that happened.
Yes, Sankey's head would explode. No, I think that if you look at the Big Ten, I think the middle is much better than it used to be. I'm not sure that the bottom is any better. So if those middle teams avoid the upset losses coming from the bottom of the league, I think you have a really strong chance to have 7 teams in the final top 25. And that might actually help the league with some of their selection committee stuff because you have more quality wins.
I'm going to go with it was one of my dark horse predictions was this team. I'm going to go with the quarterback of this team. I'm going Mark Gronowski is the first team all Big Ten quarterback when the season's all said and done over Drew Aller, over Julian Sayin, over some of these Dante Moore, others that we think could be good. The real shocker would be if it's not Drew Aller, especially considering the expectations for him this season. But I think that's just the problem, is the expectation is this Penn State team's got to win the Big Ten. They've got to win the national championship. I think Gronowski's going to come in and really change the complexion of that Iowa offense, something we haven't seen in 4 or 5 seasons. I think that pushes them over the top.
When is the last time Iowa had a quarterback on any team in the Big Ten, much less first team?
Ricky
Stanzi, I would say, yeah.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah.
Yeah. What does? Let's sit there for a second. What would exceeding expectations be for Mark Gronowski and the Iowa offense?
I mean, the bar is set so low. I don't know what I like. Just reading a lot of the preseason publications, the predictions. He's not even on some of our top 10 Big Ten quarterback lists. The bar is pretty low. So I think if they're in the top 6 offensively
In the conference.
Yeah, in the conference, that'd be a huge step forward. And I think that could all of a sudden make Iowa, that dark horse prediction that they could be the team that makes the playoffs that nobody's expecting, that could put them there.
I mean, Danny, if they have the first team All Big Ten quarterback, there ain't no maybe if they're in the playoffs. They're in the playoffs if you give Iowa a team that plays defense and runs the ball like that. If you give them a first team All Big Ten QB, like, they're probably getting a bye.
That's
Hey,
right.
We're getting bolder and bolder with every
All Big
statement
Ten
here.
quarterback out of Iowa with how they play offense. I mean, that's a Death Star.
I like that a lot. All right, Tom, bold prediction.
My bold prediction is the Big Ten will only get 3 teams into the college football playoff. And it kind of goes along with what you're saying, but like there's more depth in this league where I feel like there could be some of eating your own as conference play goes on. But where I'm really getting bold is the 3 teams I'm choosing to get to the playoff are Ohio State, Penn State, and there was so much Illinois homerism on this panel earlier in the show, but none of it came from me. So now it's my turn. Illinois to be the 3rd team to reach the college football playoff out of the Big Ten.
Who benefits from that? Because I think the same thing could happen in the SEC. Is that good for the ACC and the Big 12?
I think that based on what we know going into the season, like I would guess the ACC probably gets the benefit of that because you've got Clemson, you've got Miami, and maybe your Noles come back and have a strong season. But I just think
Bold.
with what boldest prediction, Florida State goes 10-2. But like you look at that league, I just feel like they have more teams at the top who are capable of competing for those spots.
So who's the most disappointed if the 3 teams from the Big Ten in the college football playoff are Ohio State, Penn State, Illinois? What team is feeling the worst from the Big Ten for being left out?
Oregon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you're an Oregon fan out there, you're like, hey, we are now expecting to make this expanded playoff every single season. And if we don't, it's a disappointment. And I agree with him. Like with how much Oregon spends with the cohesion and retention on their coaching staff, if they don't make the playoffs, I think that's a disappointment. But it could certainly happen. They have so many new pieces.
I would say also Michigan's not going to be thrilled about that, and I also wonder what that does for Sherrone Moore, their head coach. Like all of a sudden, if they're not in that picture, what does that mean for him after year 2?
That means a lot of pressure going into the next season because you can always look at, it's year 1 with Bryce Underwood. We're just kind of getting things going. There can be a little bit of relief in knowing that you're in the year before the year, but that also, if you fall short of expectations, makes the pressure on 26 even stronger for the Michigan head coach. All right. This is a familiar, this is like a comfy coat, okay? This is a familiar position. I'm back singing my old tunes. My bold prediction is that USC has a 10-win season. Now, it's something that Lincoln Riley has done with the Trojans before, of course, falling just short of the college football playoff in his first year with Caleb Williams as his star quarterback. And I'm not expecting Jaden Maeva to necessarily win the Heisman Trophy in order for them to accomplish this goal, but I do think that 2 things are going in their favor. Number 1, simply the schedule. It does not have Ohio State. It does not have Penn State. There are tough road games against Illinois and Oregon, but even if you drop those, you could still end up with a 10-win season. You'd still be a very, very feisty group. The second thing, and we got to hear it from Lincoln Riley, he knows how close this group is. And he knows that if we do things like Jaden Maeva tightening up the mistakes just a little bit, making sure that you make the plays not only at the end of the game, but in the second quarter and in the early in the third quarter to make sure that you be able to defend a lead, extend a lead. I think that all those things are setting up well for the Trojans to at least be able to definitely improve the win total. And as I'm projecting it, make it all the way to 10.
10-win Big Ten team that also plays the Irish in the non-conference is in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah, without question.
Yeah. I mean,
unfortunately, they just received the Chip Patterson USC kiss of death, so it's not going to happen.
Yeah,
Sorry, Trojans.
Yeah, when I said it was a familiar position, I did not say it was always successful. I just said that I am constantly called by the siren song that is the ba 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 da ba. Yeah, it feels like home to me.
If it had been successful, though, you couldn't use it for bold predictions.
That's true.
Right? Like that you got to be able to recycle the bold because it never happens.
I will say that because of the middle group, like Bud, your bold prediction about 7 teams in the final AP top 25, that is saying that there's a lot of positivity in that middle group, that things go well, but the floor for some of those teams in the middle group, and I'll say USC included, is going to be something like a 7-5, something that could be a little bit disappointing. So my thought is that we at least see from the Trojans a big step forward.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think like your Maryland, Northwestern, Purdue, Rutgers group probably wins like 6 or 7 Big Ten games total. So I think that's going to elevate a lot of the middle. Obviously they never beat the top team, so it doesn't really matter. But I think the middle, is raised up because those teams are better. I don't think the bottom of the league is actually better.
If there's one team from that bottom part of if there's one team from the bottom of the league, sort of as the way that we project it, that could end up being, because we've done a lot.
Maryland.
Okay.
Yeah, the freshman quarterback they got, Malik Washington, if he arrives like a little bit ahead of schedule, that kid can really play. And Maryland actually has the schedule this year that Rutgers had last year, whereas like Rutgers this year has the schedule of death, and it doesn't really matter how good they are. It's almost impossible to make a bowl with that schedule. Maryland has a very favorable schedule if they can get their act together.
There's a team we haven't talked about that much, and their coach just got a new contract. What about Minnesota? Minnesota, I feel like, could they? Where would you?
BJ's saying they're going to the playoff.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
bold prediction.
Boldest prediction of this year.
But he has been pretty consistent as a winner, and if they do take one little step forward, he'd be in that 9-10 win spot, so they'd at least be in the conversation. I think that would be a bold prediction, but I think when you mentioned like those teams, I was just wondering where you tier them. They're in that middle pack, or are they towards the bottom?
I've probably unfairly put them at the bottom of the middle pack, but the ability to move to the top is very, very close, without a doubt. Much more to come here from Las Vegas at Big Ten Media Days. We'll be bringing you, over the course of the next little bit, conversations with Sherrone Moore and more next. Back here on the Cover 3 podcast, live from Big Ten Media Days in Las Vegas, Nevada. That's Bud Elliott. That's Danny Kanell. That's Tom Fornelli. I'm Chip Patterson. A lot more to come as we continue to roll through day 3 at the event. Our thanks to the many coaches and players who have stopped through already. If you have missed any of this, we have all of this show and so much more available over on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Cover3. And of course, if you download the Cover 3 podcast, wherever you get your podcast, we will have a best of from today's events. We always have to put pen to paper. I mean, we always put our predictions on the record. And so what better place than right here live on CBS Sports Network than to give our official Big Ten championship game prediction. So what we will need is the 2 teams that are playing in the championship game, and we will need the winner, Tom Fornelli. Let's hear it.
We've spent a lot of time talking about how unpredictable we think the Big Ten is going to be this year. So I'm going to go with the most unpredictable outcome for the Big Ten.
Brace yourselves.
Ohio State over Penn State.
Okay, all right, okay. So we've got the reigning national champion and the reigning Big Ten runner-up. How'd you end up working your way there?
I mean, I think when there's so much that we don't truly know and there are so many question marks surrounding every single team in the league, it feels like I'm just going to kind of, bet on talent. And we know that even with everybody that they're replacing, Ohio State is still going to be the most talented team on the field probably every week that they play a football game this year. And we talked about Penn State. We talked with James Franklin yesterday. We talked with Drew Aller. We talked with Dawkins. They're an impressive team. They're mature, they're ready, and they're kind of looking forward to the test that they know is coming. So I believe in that team this year. I think we're going to see, they play in the regular season, I think we're going to see a rematch in Indy.
Danny?
I cannot believe you went so chalky.
Yeah,
I just can't. I did the same thing. I had a different outcome in the Big Ten championship game. So I think they lose the game at Ohio State in the regular season, and in a rematch, they get
narratives.
the best of them. Yeah, so like that. Because can you imagine the narrative if James Franklin loses that game and Ohio State's in the top 5 at that time? But I do think that was one thing I really took from Ryan Day when he talked about the regular season losses not really mattering, peaking at the right time. That's what I'm kind of expecting from Penn State, to maybe peak at the right time, going into the postseason, getting the Big Ten championship.
Yeah, I wanted, when we talked to Ryan, I wanted him to say the word load management, because I feel like he was dancing around at the entire interview about, like, got to peak at the right time, got to make sure we
huddled.
He said they huddled.
They huddled to play less plays for less injury exposure.
People are paying attention to that, too.
Absolutely, they are. I went Ohio State over Penn State. For me, it's Jeremiah, right? Like, when the chips are down, to use the Vegas analogy here, I'm going to bet on Jeremiah. I don't think Penn State is anybody who can check him. I think in a big-time game like that, he just comes through.
Man, all right. So we've got an Ohio State over Penn State. We've got a Penn State over Ohio State. We've got an Ohio State over Penn State. I'm always trying to teach about like patterns and sequencing, because we got ourselves a little pattern here. I've got Penn State over Ohio State, and honestly, the thing is, I went through because the regular season game is in early November in Columbus, right? Mm-hmm. I kind of saw it the way that you did. I was like, I think that might be the only spot where Penn State might get tripped up in the regular season in conference play. But then hard to beat a team twice, however you want to lay it out. I think it's really hard to beat a super experienced and talented team twice. So the way that I envision this as I go game by game and try to make these predictions, I do think that Penn State loses the first one, but then gets them in the rematch in that Big Ten championship game. Penn State, of course, would enter that Big Ten championship game with a little bit of an unfinished business. They came I know they were chasing the game, but that was a close and competitive game against Oregon last year in the Big Ten championship game, a game that Ohio State did not play in. Both of these teams played a lot of big stage college football playoff games, but a lot of the winning plays for Ohio State in those kind of settings were made by players who are now playing on Sundays in the National Football League. So maybe it is that big stage, big game type environment that might give Penn State an edge. So Ohio State over Penn State over Ohio State over Penn State, and Penn State over Ohio State.
Basic B's.
Well,
four of us.
who's getting disrespected the most here? Is this Oregon again?
Oregon's probably getting disrespected. I mean, they have so many 4 and 5 stars on that team who we just haven't seen play. They haven't played them a whole lot. Yeah, it's probably Oregon, right? Like, is it disrespectful to not pick Illinois or Indiana? I don't really think so. I think Michigan's offense last year was so bad that we don't really. Is it disrespectful to not assume a full bounce back? I don't really think so.
What do you think, Danny?
I think it's Oregon. They did win it last year, and they do have you mentioned the players. They've crushed it in recruiting. They've crushed it in the portal. Like, Dan Lanning is going to have a roster that's ready to compete, and they do have a former 5-star quarterback, potentially taking over in Dante Moore.
Yeah, again, another basic answer from all of us. I would have to go with Oregon, because there are, they're going to be good, but there are a lot of questions about that team, and it's just right now I have a little bit more faith in Ohio State with their question marks because of the talent that they have. You mentioned Jeremiah Smith. That is like a wild card that nobody has. And then with all the returning experience Penn State has. But if Oregon ends up back in the title game or winning the Big Ten again, I don't think any one of us sitting here is going to be too surprised by it.
All right, record-wise, for all these teams that we're so high on, let's maybe give a little cold shower. What's the floor for Ohio State this season?
I would say 9-3 realistically, but I don't think 8-4 is like a no chance of happening. But I think realistically 9-3 would be about as worst as it can go.
I would say 9-3 too. I was going to say 10-2. I was going to give you a little side eye there, but you just never know with college football. You truly don't. If the quarterbacks are a mess, if they're playing multiple guys, I think that's probably the floor is 9-3.
Yeah, I mean, if a lot of stuff goes wrong, probably 8-4. But I think in most of the time you're going to run a simulation, it's probably 9-3 is the floor.
And the funny thing about that is that it would feel like a disaster.
Yeah.
In the same way that Kalen DeBoer
10-2 in the regular season felt like a disaster for them before they got to the playoffs.
Was to Michigan again. Well, you talk about a disaster.
Well, speaking of. Coming up on the other side, we get to hear from Michigan coach Sherrone Moore, what to expect from the Wolverines in 2025 and more next. Back here on the Cover 3 podcast, live on CBS Sports Network. Pleased to be joined by Michigan head coach Sherrone Moore. This is 2 years in a row, Coach. We get to kick off the season with a conversation with you. Thank you for coming back and dealing with us. Hope you're doing well. How's Big Ten Media Days treating you this year?
It's been awesome. Super smooth out here in Vegas, having a good time. Didn't make it out to any clubs or blackjack tables last night. Didn't plan on it. No. Heading back tonight. Tomorrow our team has a 6 a.m. conditioning test, so we're super excited and ready to go.
What is the conditioning test? I'm curious to know.
Yeah, it varies for different teams. Ours is a 150-yard shuttle. Do it 6 times, and they all got to be within the time. So, skills a different time than big skills, and the O-line, D-line. And it's cool that some of our big skill run with the skill, some of our O-line, D-line run with the big skill, which is pretty challenging. So that it's a way to test themselves.
I'm going to need like an hour, Coach.
Yeah, me too. I'm not even, they all ask me to do it. I'm not doing it.
Danny, did you ever have to do the conditioning test?
We had to do a 1.5 mile run, which I don't know what the purpose of that was in the sport of football. And then we had to do 10 40s, which I would trade those over the 150s any day of the week. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask, I asked you last year. You didn't give me the answer. And I'm just thinking, now that you're second time back, we've gotten to know each other. We're more familiar. We're friends.
Yeah, that's right.
Who's your starting quarterback?
Yeah, I still can't answer that question.
Oh, man, we thought.
Maybe next year. But, it'll be a great battle throughout camp. I'm really excited to see all those guys participate, obviously. Really go by age. You go with Mikey Keene, a guy who's leads our team in college football snaps. He's got 2,029 snaps in college football, and excited to see where he goes and what he does. Jake Garcia is a guy we brought in late, but there's familiarity with him and Chip Lindsey to see where he goes. Jaden Davis is another guy who's been in the program, and then obviously Bryce Underwood was a highly touted guy. So it's going to be a great competition as we get into fall camp.
How do you manage those expectations with Bryce Underwood? So much has been made about his contract and him coming to Michigan and the recruiting war that took place, and it's like he's already positioned as the savior for Michigan football, even though that's almost impossible to put on one young man's shoulders. How do you help manage those expectations?
Yeah, what's amazing to me is people put out these contract numbers, which are completely crazy and wild, that they think they know anything. So that's the first piece. But two, he's a kid that just wants to be a great teammate and really focused on being about the team and being the best version of himself. So there's been expectations for him his whole life. So I think for him and for us, we have to do a really good job of managing those expectations. And being a quarterback at Michigan, whether you're the starter or not, is hard, and there's pressure. There always is. There always will be. So for us, it'll take not only Chip and Coach Sinagoga, who's the assistant quarterback coach, but me and the village around him to make sure that help him and steer him in the right direction.
Well, how would you compare him? Because he's a highly touted 5-star freshman. You've had one of those before in J.J. McCarthy, who's now playing for the Minnesota Vikings, getting ready for his first season as a starter in the NFL. But when they both showed up on campus, comparing him to JJ, how do you feel Bryce stacks up as far as where he is and being ready to play?
Yeah, I mean, as far as pure size, it's way different because he's 6'4" and he's 230 pounds now. But mentality-wise, pretty similar, the mentality of what they wanted to do and how they want to be. How they go about their business, pretty similar, and attacking things off the field and being great teammates, and both of them were loved by their teammates. So it's going to be interesting to see how it happens in camp.
I know last year didn't meet the expectations of what Michigan wanted or you wanted in your first year, but the last 2 games were huge for you guys to capture momentum, beat Ohio State, beat Alabama in the bowl game. How much did those change? How much did that change?
Yeah, no more flag planting.
No more of that. How much did that change things for you and the program to be able to capture a little bit of positivity going the offseason?
I mean, I think the biggest piece with both those games, one, the Ohio State game, that's kind of separate from every game you play every year because it's the game. It's the most storied rivalry in college football, maybe one of the most storied rivalries in sports. So for us, that's something you work for 365. So to win that game meant everything to us and something we take a lot of pride in. But to go out and beat Alabama in the bowl game with some of our guys that were first rounders, all the first rounders not playing and a second rounder not playing, a lot of confidence for the guys that played in the game. We had a right tackle who hadn't played a game all year, Andrew Sprague, started right tackle. We had a running back who hadn't really played. He played a little bit sparingly, who won MVP of the game and rushed for over 100 yards. So when you have that, it gives confidence to those younger guys and it helps them propel them some confidence going into the season.
made a couple staff changes this offseason. Now as a head coach, that responsibility is there. And as you're moving around the offensive staff, the staff that you used to lead as a national championship winning assistant, what did you see in Chip Lindsey that made you feel like he was going to be a good fit for what you would like to see out of this Michigan offense?
First thing is that he wanted to be a part of the program. I think just like you do in recruiting, you want people that want to be a part of the program, because in the world we live in today, so much is about me. We're living in this brand, and our theme has been team over me. It's been very simple. Do everything for the team and not for yourself, and everything else for yourself will come. And Chip wanted to be a part of us just as much as we wanted him a part of us. And that was extremely intriguing. And two, he's a guy that's well-renowned to develop quarterbacks, had explosive offenses, but balanced offenses, has run the ball, has thrown the ball, but he's also been a head coach. And he's been a guy that's been in the seat that I'm in, so it's been great for me to have somebody to lean on me like that. But probably number one overall, he's an outstanding human being and a leader of men, and it's been fun to get to know him because he's super funny. The players make fun of his country accent because he's from Alabama, but he's done a phenomenal job with the offense and with the guys and with the team, and I have full trust in him.
You guys start this year with New Mexico, but after that, you've got a pretty big test looming with the road game against Oklahoma. Last year, you guys played Texas and Ann Arbor. I love seeing big programs schedule these on-campus games for non-conference, but with the uncertainty about the future format of the college football playoff, is there any kind of thought in your mind about how you want to approach scheduling in the future, or are you looking to keep scheduling these games?
Yeah, I kind of like scheduling the games, those brand-name marquee games. One, it's really awesome to see where you're at, to test yourself against the best of the best, and to put yourself in a position to be ready for our conference, who I think is the best conference in football. And I think all these conferences should play 9 games. Everybody wants to play. There's teams that want to play 8. We should all play 9, and we should all play the same type of opponents out of conference. And it should be very similar. It should be aligned. And if we did that, it'd make it all fair and make the playoffs fair. Because as the playoffs expand, it's going to be different. So for us, we think that it's the best way to do it. And I know we got Oklahoma this year, we got Oklahoma next year, and then we got Texas the year after that. And like in 2030, we go back to play Notre Dame. So. But that's why you come to Michigan. You don't come to Michigan to just play anybody. You want to play the big-time opponents. You tell kids in recruiting this, you come to Michigan to play big-time games. Well, then go play them. Don't play the games that the kids don't want to play. So, and I understand how it helps the record and helps all that, and everybody's entitled to their opinion of what they want to do, but I feel pretty strongly that you should play those big-time football games.
After you've been on the job for 1 year, and I know you had some experience as an interim head coach, but what kind of surprised you? What were you not ready for that you feel more ready for this season, year 2?
Yeah, I think the biggest piece is the time management of what you do within the season. And when you're out of season, there's no game. So you're playing in schedules, you're doing all those, and I felt I had a pretty good grasp on that. But when you're in the season and you got a week to prepare, as a coordinator, I knew exactly what I wanted to do and exactly how I was going to do it, how every minute was going to align and what I would watch. And when I'd be done watching something else, I'd make sure I watched something else. And it was football, it was the players I had in the room and the players I had on that side of the ball, and that was it. Now, as a head coach, it's administration, it's recruiting, it's NIL, it's the staff, it's this, there's so many other things. And then football's last. Football was like my sanctuary in the season, going to practice and being around the players. So being able to allot the time to do the things that I need to do to make sure I get the things done on a timely fashion and make sure we're aligned as a staff and as an organization has been huge for me, and taking the time this summer to figure out how that's going to look. And I feel like I got a good grasp on that.
What are you most proud of from last season?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I'm most proud of is our team, how the coaches, how the staff, in a time of adversity, because everybody's great when you're winning.
Right.
Everybody's happy when you're 15-0 and you win a national championship. Everybody's arm in arm and singing. But how are you when you're down and you lose a game, you lose a close game? What are you going to do? Are you going to point fingers? Are you going to blame others? Or are you going to rally around together and to watch our team go from that Indiana game to the Northwestern game to Ohio State game to Alabama, and watch the staff do it too? It was masterful. It was an outstanding thing to watch and be a part of. So so blessed and proud to be around some great young student athletes, but great young men and leaders of men with our coaches.
He is Sherrone Moore, and we are excited to see him on the sidelines once again for the Michigan Wolverines. Coach, thank you so much for spending some time with us here on the Cover 3 podcast.
Appreciate it. Can't wait to be back next year.
Yes.
Coming up on the other side, more of our coverage from Big Ten Media Days and more next.
Yeah.
Back here on the Cover 3 podcast, live from Big Ten Media Days in Las Vegas, Nevada. Our thanks to Michigan head coach Sherrone Moore. A reminder that if you missed that, you can go and find that and all of our conversations here from Big Ten Media Days on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Cover3. And of course, the highlights, the best of, will be available wherever you get your podcasts. Okay, so, Tom.
Yes.
We handed out at different times some MVP awards. We are now a Luke Altmaier podcast, as the Illinois quarterback really knocked us away on day one. But with a lot more that we've had in terms of conversations, things that we've learned. Who else has stood out today, or really over the last couple days, as really some of your favorite moments from Big Ten Media Days?
I think, the offensive linemen we've interviewed, from Nick Dawkins, Elijah Page, I think they've both been very impressive, and they were really good interviews, which doesn't come as a surprise because all offensive linemen are geniuses,
right?
And they're excellent talkers, so they're always great interviews. But I would say what really stood out to me is everybody's been good. Like, everybody we have interviewed, like, a lot of times, you talk to somebody and maybe they're not ready or maybe they're a little nervous about being on television, but I just feel like everybody had a sense of comfort, and I enjoyed the conversations we've had all week, and I thought we've had some pretty good convos.
I have a new MVP because we were at Luke Altmaier. Like, that was our MVP of the week. But
you can't change that.
No, I'm going to, because last night we were at the craps table and that guy that had that run, my MVP of the week. I mean, it's not even close.
Shout out to that guy. Seriously.
Exactly. No, I thought Altmaier was great. And I'm with you. And I said this when we were talking to Nico earlier. Like, you form strong opinions about players. Are they clutch? Can they come up big? Drew Aller's one. And I've said all week, he hasn't played big in the big stage. He's kind of disappeared, and that is my opinion still. But then you talk to him, and you talk to all of them. You're like, man, they're such good kids. You really do want to root for them all to play well. And I know we'll forget, and we'll go back to ripping them because we lose our bets or whatever it is. We'll just go back to shredding them. But you do see that human side of them, and you remember how impressive these young men are. And I know there's been a lot of change, and people don't like the fact that they wear, nicer clothes and they have jewelry on their wrists, and it's like you can tell they're getting a lot of money. And so some people that, brings some animosity toward them and even some resentment or jealousy. They're still really good kids.
So what I'm hearing is we need our guy from the craps table last night to just hang out all season to keep us from getting angry.
Yes. Can you get on our locks pod?
Yes. Well, there's an idea.
Penn State center Nick Dawkins had a great comment about Drew Aller. He said he's got all of the pressure in the world. Multiple year starter at Penn State, all of the expectations of this is the year and this is the team. And that doesn't even compare to the pressure that he puts on himself. And then we got to speak with Drew, and Drew, to your point, was just so locked in. He was talking about how he's trying to, do better about how he eats and the way that all these quarterbacks, Dylan Raiola is another one. The modern high-level athlete in the Big Ten is just fully consumed with really doing everything that it takes in order to be the best versions of themselves. I'm really glad that you brought that up because, again, the season's going to start. We're going to be making our locks. We're going to be doing bold predictions and expert picks. But to see them in a setting like this is really to remember that we are dealing with 18 to 23-year-olds that are just trying to be the best versions of themselves. Drew Aller really knocked me away.
I will say, Sherrone Moore left me with something, too, because when we asked him about Bryce Underwood, I referenced the contract, didn't even put out a number. And he was like, don't listen to him. And we run with those numbers all the time. There's a couple websites that frustrate me to no end because we see those numbers and then people just say them over and over and you're like, oh, that's a $12 million quarterback. And we don't know. And I think it does create issues within locker rooms. I think that's why he brought it up. And it creates, animosity among the players and they feel like they're underpaid. And a lot of that is driven by the agents because they're trying to use whatever leverage and they'll float out these numbers to drive up the price for their player. So that was one thing I just resonated with me there. And I know we talk about a lot of that off the field stuff and maybe now's not the time, but I think it was interesting. He quickly said, don't listen to those numbers. Because again, you'll watch every pregame show week one of the season. They're going to talk about Bryce Underwood. And when you say his name, it's going to come with that number behind it, which is probably not even true.
Yeah. I don't think that the off-field stuff is now's not necessarily the time to talk about it. Now's the time when coaches actually will tell us. How about Maryland coach Mike Loxley, who said that I lost my locker room. Yep. And one of the reasons that I lost my locker room last year was because the players were not on the same page about compensation. And I just think that he's taken a new approach to it. But for a program like that, we're not expecting Maryland to win the Big Ten every year, but they were in the bowl every single year, always in the postseason, and yet you see what happens. And so it's very, very tough to manage all along the way, trying to understand the what's real, what's not real, and then being able to manage your locker room that way. We are pleased to welcome to the set the most tenured head coach in the Big Ten. He is Iowa's Kirk Ferentz. Coach, thank you so much for joining us here on the Cover 3 podcast and CBS Sports Network. How are you doing here today at another Big Ten Media Days in a slightly different setting than what you're used to from recent?
Yeah, first things first, I'm doing great. Thank you. And I want to thank you for saying tenured, not the oldest. No. So I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
I know you've been dealt different seasons, a lot of pressure, but there may not be the type of pressure that you face because I've picked you guys as my dark horse team.
I didn't know that, Danny. Thank you.
A lot of pressure on you. But
should I thank him or not? Or should I be mad at him?
Usually doesn't work out well, Coach.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I love your quarterback that you guys signed in the portal, Mark Gronowski, the career that he's had at the FCS level. How have you seen him? And the big question mark people have is how is that going to translate to the next level, making that big jump. How have you seen him as he's making that transition?
Well, first of all, I appreciate you saying that because you know something about quarterbacks I don't. I'm a career line coach, and the only thing I can tell you about quarterbacks is some of them make me feel really good, and other ones not so much.
It's been a while since you've had
it's been a rocky road. Rocky road. But the guys have done their best. But, Mark's just a tremendously impressive person, first of all. When we met him in January and then, I had him 7+ months now. Everything about him just makes you feel good. He's extremely humble, very self-assured, very confident. And then he faced a challenge, number one, joining us in January. But then he also had surgery, so he couldn't train and work like the other guys. So I still haven't seen him come out of the huddle and run our offense. But I think we all feel good about him. And the question about the transition, I think that's highly overrated, me personally. I think, if you're a good player, you're a good player. Not everybody in the NFL, played in a major college. So he's very impressive background. Didn't have a Big Ten scholarship, MAC offer coming out, and his resume speaks for itself. Number one, he's a winner, and number two, he's got a pretty good skill set. And now this summer, we coming out of the surgery, we've gotten to see some of his testing results, and they're pretty impressive. So I won't give you all the details, but I feel really good about him.
Of course, the quarterback wants to talk about the quarterback, but you said to yourself, you're a line coach. I want to talk about the running game that you guys have had the last few years. Caleb Johnson, I thought last season was one of the best running backs in the country. He's gone now. How are we feeling about our running back room heading into 2025?
Really good, and they're kind of emblematic of our football team, quite frankly. I'll go back a year ago, August, not that anybody listened, but I just said, I feel like our line finally, after a couple of years, a lot's been talked about our offense, and the quarterback play has been we've had injuries, all kinds of issues, but our line play has not been what we expect, and it's really since 2021. So a lot of reasons for that. Doesn't matter. But last year's the first year we felt like we maybe could get traction, and we did in that regard. I also said if we had good quarterback play, that and line play, we traditionally have done well at Iowa. And so I think we have a chance to have both those this year, really do. And then beyond that, I think we have other guys on our team that are going to be ready to go. I think our receiver group's much improved. But going back to the running back position, it's kind of like the receiver position. I think we have really good guys in the room. And I look at this right now, I don't think we'll even know until we get through with camp who's who, what's what. And it may go in, I said this earlier, it may go into September before we know who our 1, 2, 3 guys are. But they have different skill sets, great attitudes. And Kamari jumped in, did a great job against Maryland in the bowl game last year. We'll move T.J. Washington back full-time now, and he's got a good skill set. Jazz Patterson's been a tough runner. We have 2 freshmen that we were really impressed with their growth last year. So I like the group. I couldn't tell you who's going to be what and doing what, but I think we'll be able to compete with the guys we have.
It is talking season, and one thing that a lot of coaches have chosen to spend some time weighing in on is the future of the sport and maybe the makeup of the playoff or conference schedules. How much do those conversations or do you try to get involved in those conversations?
Only if I'm asked. We have league meetings, and our commissioner is a guy who wants to know what he's got great listening skills first and foremost, and the best leaders I've been around. I can say that. I mean, they listen really, really hard. And Coach or Commissioner Petiti has that ability. But, those are the people making the decisions, the athletic directors and certainly the commissioner. Ultimately, the presidents have to sign off. But I think we're moving in a positive direction. I'm kind of more focused on just what the rules are, and hopefully this new system that's being contested right now, as I understand it, a fluid process. But what we've lived through the last 3 years is not sustainable. The money, I think, is sustainable, but not the way we've operated.
I hear you. Well, our thanks to Iowa coach Kirk Ferentz. Thank you so much for watching all of our coverage here from Big Ten Media Days.